it's Dawn Michelle and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to take a look at my planner, I guess slash tarot journal, because while I do use this primarily as a weekly and daily planner, I do have quite a few tarot readings in here and you'll see those as we flip through. But since I do get quite a few questions about my planning style and how I plan and why I plan, I thought I would just do a little, I guess, first quarter. That tends to be what I see them listed as, but like the first 3 months in my planner, because there has been a little bit of an evolution in here. So today we're just going to take a little flip through, see the changes that I've made over the last few months, and I'll talk a little bit about my process for planning. So I do have my planner in a Moturn cover, and I've got random stuff shoved into the pockets. I love seeing people's planners and their planner covers where their pockets are like so beautifully arranged and decorated. Apparently that is just not me, because I cannot seem to do that to save my life. I just end up throwing things in here, and it's usually things that like I, for the most part, have a need for. This is Eric's business card, but this is the True Sight Oracle keyword reference guide, which I keep in here because I do use that deck quite frequently. Okay, these not so much. I just love them. They don't really serve any purpose other than I just like having them in here. It kind of is a little bit of a visual reminder to me about like the different sort of aspects and sides of my practice. We have the title card. Yeah, it's the title card from the Tree Whisper Oracle. This is the Secret Garden edition by Maggie Black. And on the back side, it says walk slowly, listen softly. And I think that's just such a beautiful message. And then I have, this was a title card for the Cursed Auguries Tarot, and I cut it out and it just made it kind of like a shape so it would sit in here. I think I had it in there, and I don't know, I just kind of like those as like a visual reminder. And then I've got like random stickers and things that I need to like put in at some point. This is like a game that just came out that I want to play, and then I think this is just an aesthetic thing that I'm like, I want to do this. So I've got these stickers in here that I will put in eventually. And then I've got in the back here, I've got some additional stickers for things that I use. These are constellation stickers, or the zodiac stickers from Dandelion Diaries. I just like them. I haven't found a use for them yet, but I like them, so I put them in here. Then I've got my little paw prints and my little D20s. These are from Window Charms, but I don't think Window Charms does physical stickers anymore. I think it's all digital now. So I've got those in there. And then I do have my Hobonichi Weeks in a plastic cover because I covered the top of it. I think I did this as a member video too, where I decorated the whole thing, the front and back, even though you can't see the back. And then I put it in a plastic cover just to kind of, protect it and keep it safe. I do like having it in the Moturn because the pockets are somewhat functional for me, but mostly, and I don't use the bookmarks that come with it because they're just laying here because I have my own that I made. But mostly it's just because it has a pen loop, and I like having the pen loop. And like, honestly, I have a whole collection of these Moturns in several different sizes now, and I just like all of my planners being in one. The inside pocket, I do believe this is a Lauren Phelps cover. If it's not a Lauren Phelps, then it's Midori, but I'm pretty sure this particular one's Lauren Phelps. And I just have some random stickers and ephemera in here. This is actually my list of categories for my Gamify. That's also something I'm doing, not in this planner. Sort of. It's sort of in this planner, but sort of not. I do have a whole video on my Gamify process if anybody's interested in that. Here's my just kind of cover page that I made really, really simple. I just did a butterfly, some washi, and an imperfection sticker and some dots because like I'm trying to remind myself that this does not need to be perfect. It needs to be functional. I didn't end up ever doing anything with the calendar page, like this year at a glance thing. That's fine. I don't need to. This little whatever this is, I never know what this is called. I'm using this to record anytime I put a tarot reading into my planner. That way I can quickly get to those, which is more often things that I need to return to than just, a memory page or a journaling page. So I've got those listed in here, although I think I have a few that I need to get in. Then I added this page fairly recently where I took the December calendar because I didn't start using this planner until January. So I covered up the December stuff and, just with some washi and stickers. And I started tracking the books that I have finished this year. So in January, I finished Phantasm. In February, I finished The Beauty. And I'll need to add my book that I will probably be wrapping up at the end of March. I do not know if I actually have room to do them all at this size and to get full 12 months in here. We shall see. I generally don't read more than, and I am only tracking fiction in here. I'm not tracking nonfiction because I do read actually a lot more nonfiction than I do fiction. But I thought it would just be fun to track my fiction titles since those are really just for pleasure, whereas my nonfiction reading tends to be more for work-related things. So I thought it'd be fun just to track them in here. I am trying to read one fiction book a month, but I by no means have any sort of rules or goals or anything around that, because the whole trying to read so many books in a month, that to me is just I have enough things to do. That to me is super overwhelming. I want reading to be pleasurable, not another piece of homework, especially my fiction reading. So I'm just filling them in here as I go. I'm in no rush. If I get one a month, great. If not, then that's cool too. So then moving into January, this is just basically a print version of my content calendar. And I think I've mentioned before that I actually do my content planning in a Google Calendar because then I have it across all my devices. But I like to have sort of like a paper copy and a, little at a glance here that I keep in my planner in case I want to reference, did I already make a video like that? And I can just really quickly pop in here and look. So I've got January in here and February in here. And then I've got, of course, a tab down here for March because at the end of March, I will fill this one in with the content that I did in March. So let's jump over to the weeklies and take a sip of my coffee so it doesn't go cold on me. Okay, so my weeklies have gone through, I think, the biggest transformation in this planner. Well, I mean, my dailies have gone through a fairly large transformation too, but I feel like this is the biggest because at the beginning of the year, I was kind of just using this more as I filled in after the fact. So I had my videos that are coming out, and this is across both my channels. It includes my public tarot content as well as my member content here in this space, and then anything that I do over on my gaming channel. And so I kind of had a main things I want to get done, like a main task list for the week, and then I would come in and just fill in along the way, what I did after the fact. So I wasn't planning in this, I was recording what I was doing. And then I started marking work times with a gray mild liner. And you can see that I kind of did this through the beginning of the first part of the year, the first month. And at first I was like, oh, I'm not going to make it pretty. I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to, get my stuff in and just record whatever it is that I did. And that's all I'm going to do, right? And so I did that all through January. I was on vacation and then took some time off, did some renovation, so not much in there. Moving into February, we're still kind of in this same sort of layout, I think all through February. So task list, and then basically just recording what I did. Not planning ahead, but recording after the fact. I did like using the marker to define certain blocks of time, and you'll see that I incorporate that in a much bigger way moving forward in March. So here in the rest of February. And then this is where things started to shift, and I was like, I ran out of space on my page because I was, and you'll see when we get to the dailies, I was actually still planning in the daily pages, and I ran out of space to put my Gamify rating on the daily page that I did it on, so I just stuck it here on the weekly page. And then I was like, well, I didn't have space for these, so I like to keep track of movies and shows that we're watching too. Basically, when we finish it, when we finish a movie or we finish a show, I put it in here as a little thumbnail, and then I tried to write a little something about what I thought about it or whatever. And again, I ran out of space for this, so I put it here in the weekly. And then I was like, while I'm here, I'm gonna stick a sticker here and I'm gonna stick a sticker here. And I decided, oh, maybe I kind of like that. So I thought about that a little bit. And then I was like, maybe I want to break it down. So I knew I wanted to do some of this more decorative stuff, but also include some of the memory keeping kind of in there as well. But then I was like, can I make the weekly more functional for me? Because last year I used a week. So that is basically a weekly planner. And so I was like, well, what if I just incorporate more of what I did in the weeks in here on the weekly pages? And then I can do something different in the daily pages, which was I feel like that was my original thought process behind moving to the cousins, but somewhere along the way I got distracted from that. So here I was like, okay, so we're starting to meal plan. So that would be good to have in here, right? So I started doing my meal planning in here, but then I realized that it would be really handy if I also tracked my social media posts, primarily Instagram and only for this channel. So just really for my Dawn Michelle Creates Instagram. I don't track what I post on my game social medias because there's too many of them. There's like Instagram and TikTok and I don't know, YouTube and all that. So then you can see here I get into, okay, let's just go full on in. Let's throw everything at my weekly that I possibly can and see what I think about it. So I've got not only my videos listed at the top, so in the gray is all the videos. So I do a game video on Monday, I had a bonus member video this week, and then a member video on Wednesday, videos for this space every Thursday, and then Friday I do a recap for the game that Lisa and I played on Tuesday. And that's of course over on my gaming channel. So that's 4 videos. Well, this week I made 5, but 4 videos generally in a week. So I listed those up there. Then I also started incorporating the keyword that came off my daily card pull because I don't spend a lot of time now looking at my daily pages. I actually keep my planner, if it's open, it's usually open to the week. So I like kind of having that keyword just as a reminder to me that that was the daily card that I pulled. So I've got that listed at the top. And then I've got actually like planning what we had going on, things I had to do, appointments, you know, if we were dinner prepping. Again, my sort of task list is over here. And then I started making a note of the fiction book that I'm reading over here. I think sometimes I put the nonfiction in there too, but basically the fiction book that I'm reading. And then again, I was doing anything in gray and this yellowy color. I started tracking stuff that related to my Gamify because this makes it really easy to add up my points for Gamify because I can just go in here and I've got them listed by color. So this is what this color code is for. It's the same color code that I'm using in my Gamify. I did change the color code for one of them because I was already using this gray for work-related stuff. So I started using the markers to denote when I did those things in here. So you can see like here's gray. And obviously we have yellow here, but there's some yellow here, and there's the orange. So we have dexterity, insight, charisma, green is vitality, and then wisdom is brown over here. So I can quickly look at this and see, okay, what I did on this day from Gamify, what I did on this day, and so it makes it really easy to add up my points. And it also kind of gives me a visual reference of like all the gray is all the time I've spent working. And all of the orange color is all the time I've spent with quality time with people. So like, it's pretty good. It's pretty well balanced. Like if you look at it, I've got gray work over here and then kind of, I don't know why, it just kind of arcs this way. I tend to do a lot more work at the beginning of the week and then I tend to trail off and then do more things with friends and family and stuff like that. So it shows me that I feel like I've got a fairly decent flow. Again, I've got like things that we were watching. We finished Sandman. I did, because it's a video game, I don't tend to mark when we finish a video game because sometimes they're ongoing, sometimes they take months and months and months. So I wanted to note that we started playing Batman Arkham Knight, so I've got that in here. I switched up my little bottom areas, so I've got my social media up here, again, just for my one Instagram, meal planning down here, and then down here at the very, very bottom, I'm tracking my water intake. So I really, really switched things up. I was like, let me just throw absolutely everything at it and see what works. And I think for the most part, it worked really well because I, for the most part, have continued that into this next week. At the time I'm recording this, this was actually last week. So again, I've got my task list here. I've got books that I'm reading. I did, for whatever reason, note my nonfiction book here. Not sure why I did that, but I've got my card pulls, my videos, any work that I did, again, using those color codes to denote very specific things related to Gamify, games that we've played, which is wonderful, just appointments, things that I had going on, and sometimes I just list like, yeah, Saturday, late afternoon, basically into the night, like we played Batman for like 6 hours. So this is working really well for me so far. I am actually recording this video on Monday, the 24th. So this is what I've got so far in my plan for this week. So I've got my task list, my main things. I kind of did break them down this time where I've got kind of videos and then my own personal practice stuff that I need to do and then some work related stuff. And then I'll put my book down here that I'm reading. I've got my videos that are going to be coming out this week. I have a game video that's coming out today. On Wednesday, I'm doing another deck collection video for my members. Thursday will be this video that we're watching here. And Friday is another game game edit. And then you can see I've already pulled my card for today. So I've got my liberation card in here, and then I've got doing my Gamify reading and my planner video. So as the day goes on, I will fill this in with things that I'm going to do, my plan. So I kind of generally break my day down into, I kind of plan like, how am I going to spend my morning? And then I kind of like take a lunch break, and then I figure out how am I going to spend my afternoon, and then how I'm going to spend my evening. I sometimes do plan a whole day at once, but my life tends to be a little bit more chaotic than that. And stuff tends to come up, or like, let's be honest, we're in a mood and I'm like, I don't feel like doing that thing now. So I really only plan in morning, afternoon, and evening chunks, because then that leaves me the freedom to change my mind. I do have several little bookmarks that I have made in my planner, because I enjoy little charmy things. I mean, like, I've got them like everywhere. This is my brain dump, basically. This is what I actually end up carrying around with me, because this is too heavy for me to carry around, so it just lives on my desk. But this is my little Astarian one. Basically, I bought a keychain. It had another thing on it, a much bigger thing on it. It had this little loop, so I cut it and I reclamped the edges and then added my own little heart charm. Then I added the charm from the keychain on here, so I've got that as a bookmark. And I like these because it makes it very obvious where things are. I turn to Astarian, and then there's my weekly page, and then over here we've got Jinx, and we'll take a look at Jinx when we get there. But Jinx always marks my daily pages because my days are a little bit hectic. So let's jump over to the dailies. So every month in the Hobonichi Cousins kind of begins with this like blank page for the month. I have really changed how I've done this. When I started in January, I recorded this sort of month ahead reading that I actually did in member space. And then I just listed the decks that I used for various practices. I had like kind of my tasks over here, and then I had a video that I was doing, and then I had sort of like what I had going on throughout the day. I was doing my daily card pull, and I doodled that flower in here. While I really like this setup, the thing that made me kind of start to slowly switch away from it, and you'll see it took me a while to do it, is because when I had tarot journaling to do, because I'm now currently using this as sort of like my just daily tarot journal. When I had tarot journaling to do, I didn't have enough space. If I was doing all the planning and the water tracking and the tasks and all of that, and plus my daily card, and I just didn't have the space. And so that's why I started to move over into planning in the weekly and just using the daily pages. And you can see here it's very sparse to start out with. So like, here's a good example. I had my reading here, and I just didn't really have a lot of room to reflect on that reading, because by the time I had done this, I had already started putting some stuff in, and I was like, well, where am I going to stick it now? And I got my big flower down here, and it just wasn't creating enough space for my tarot readings. Because when I realized when I get to these days, you can see here I was even trying to still squeeze in my readings with my sort of daily task things. Apparently I was having a bad day this day, since that's what I wrote. I was having a bad day. Here's a movie we watched. This was, a screenshot from the game that Allie and I were playing. And as we go through, I kind of realized that while I like this layout, it doesn't necessarily always work for me, because it doesn't leave me enough room to actually journal. So then I just wouldn't. And that's the thing that I guess really kind of cinched it for me, is that I was not doing the journaling that I would normally be doing had I the space to do it in, if that makes sense. So here's a self-care reading on Sunday. This page is very bland. Oh, this is when we went to Florida. So I know I've flipped through this already. Like every month I flip through my planner, because it is not only my planner, but also my tarot journal. But also this is how I remember what I actually did in a month, because like I do a lot of stuff. Renovated my office. So moving into February, I had the sort of cover page that I did at the end of February, and I just recorded the decks that I was using, and I just did some like collaging and stuff, and I really like this a whole lot better. So that's what I'm going to be doing in March as well. And as you can see, some days are prettier than others. So again, through February, still using this as a daily planner. The other thing that I noticed was that there are things that I do still need to track on Saturday and Sunday, and with my wisdom readings actually kind of falling into place on Saturdays tends to be when I do my spiritual practice, and Sunday tends to be when I do my self-care / wild magic practice. With those things occupying those 2 days on the page, it didn't leave me space to actually record the things that I need to get done, because weekends are actually fairly busy around here, and we have errands and I have games planned and we have things going on, and I just didn't have any of the space to record that with having a big reading. So I was just trying to find a way for all of that information to exist on one page, and it was just too much. And I was like, well, this thing has a weeks, right? That's the whole point of it. So I started moving all the planning into the weeks, and you'll see it when we get into March. I think it works a lot better for me. So yeah, just, books, screenshots, whatever, readings. The readings are also my favorite pages as far as like my daily pages go. But then there's a few of them, like I really love the way this one turned out. There's a few of them that are really good. But like for the most part, I don't love the daily pages at the beginning of the book. So here's my blank page for March. So now we're going to go into what I'm doing currently. So here is my wisdom reading. So this one was just a Persephone reading. Then I had my wild magic where I roll my d10s to get my 100 number, and this prompt comes out of my Gamify. Oh, I think at this point I was still trying to I was still trying to plan daily plan in here. I think I did that all up until the last 2 weeks. And like some of them are cute. Like this is cute. But really, another Hades reading. Oh, this was the reading that I did. I think this was the week that I recorded the whole week of my practice. So all of the readings and stuff that I did are in that video. And then we have my Hades and Persephone reading, my wild magic. And this is where it shifts into being daily planner pages to daily journal pages. So I pulled my card and I'm using the Apothecary Spirits Oracle all throughout March. I'll talk about that deck more when I do my March wrap up. And I've got my card pull, which I doodle, and then I write some keywords from the guidebook, and I copy part of the message from the guidebook to sit with me throughout the day. And then usually towards the evening, I come back and I journal a little bit and do some decorative stuff and just, have a little fun with it. And you can see that that's kind of the process that I've taken from here on out. I've got some journaling. Here's my card pull, some more journaling. This was the end of that stream, so it was so emotional that Lisa and I had to have a live chat wrap up about it and had to do a tarot reading. It was such an emotional roller coaster of a ride, and the end was very, very surprising. Here's my tarot reading around that. I do have my daily page here, so this was my card pull for the day. This was my daily message, and then I have my reading here, and I noted that it's from the Villain's Run, and then my reflections on that reading and how that whole thing all played out. This day, it was a chaos in my brain day, and so I made my page reflect that. It's a chaos page. It has that energy of how I was feeling that day when I look at the way that I did things. And it's just a little bit haphazard, and it really reflected where I was that day. So Friday we have a reading that I did, which was kind of like a clearing the space, because I pulled the daily card that I pulled was the keywords were clearing and purging. So I was like, you know what? That's a great idea. I'm going to do a reading around that. So I did like a clearing reading to help me just like kind of clear this clutter out of my brain, because it was still hanging out with me, and I needed to move on from it. And then on Saturday, again, I have my wisdom reading, or really when I do my spiritual practice. So currently I'm working with Hades and Persephone, sometimes together, sometimes separately, just depends on how I'm feeling and what's going on throughout the week. But I've got that in here. And then on Sunday I do, which is pretty much like my self-care readings, but they're the wild magic readings from Gamify. And I've been using the same decks for the most part for those practices. Daily card, what the card meant, and then journaling. So this page I pretty much dedicated to just journaling about this game that Lisa and I are currently playing every Tuesday night, which is a fully immersive roleplay game that we are doing over on my Twitch channel. I am playing Daphne, Lisa's playing Alex. Fully immersive roleplay is quite entertaining. It was a blast. Okay, so moving along, again, just, some journaling for the day. Here is another tarot reading that I did, again, which was kind of inspired by my daily card pull, and I noticed that was a theme that kind of kept coming up through the last couple of weeks. that if I pulled a card that kind of sparked a larger idea for me, then I did a tarot reading around it. Lemon is really interesting one for me personally to have as like joy and bliss and exhilaration, because I'm actually allergic to, like, severely allergic to lemon. That's one of the reasons why I was like, okay, that's a good card for me, because the way I feel about lemon is completely opposite from the way that, you know, lemon is approached as like a healing energy. And so I wanted to explore that a little bit. So I did a tarot reading around that just to kind of explore that idea for me personally, because I have a hard time associating lemon with good things. So moving into Friday, I got the mortar and pestle. This was so fun to doodle. I really enjoyed this one. Again, keywords from the apothecary spirits, oracle, messages from the guidebook. Sometimes it's longer than others. And then I just did some journaling over here at the end of the day and just added a few stickers. And here's another wisdom reading. So this is my Hades reading. And then we have Sunday, which was yesterday for me, my wild magic reading. Again, still using the same decks. And then this is today. So this is how it looks to start with. I've got my Jinx. She's up under here. This is like, it's quite big and heavy, but this marks my daily pages. I put her here because my days are kind of chaotic, but also because this is the big chunky one and it kind of flips over the cover. It reminds me to come back and do my daily pages and to do my journaling. But again, it was another keychain. I'll leave a link below to the shop where I got these on Etsy, and you can see what they look like before. They're really cute keychains, and I just kind of cut them down and made them into bookmarks. But here's how it starts at the very beginning of a day. I pulled my card. I forgot to add my color to this, but that's because I was like, I need to get started making my video. I will color this dandelion yellow because that's the color that's on the card. For this one, I just did a couple of the keywords, and I just pulled the one phrase that really stood out to me, which was make it happen. And that's something that I like this week. That's my goal. I've got a lot of things to get done this week, and so I'm just going to make it happen. So that's everything that is basically in my Hobonichi. I don't think there's anything in the back. Well, at least there's these extra pages, but I don't ever do anything with them. In the back here, I've got receipts. Real exciting. But yeah, I really do like the sort of transformation that this has gone through. It kind of shows, I think for me personally, how it always takes me like a few months to settle into like a new year. And I always come into every year with these really big ideas and expectations for myself around planning and just around all the stuff that I want to get done in general. And this is a really great like visual representation of how things shift and change over time from where I started at the beginning of the year to where I end up like around March, April. I think maybe it changes a little bit seasonally for me. I think how I plan and what I focus on shifts with the season. And as I'm saying all this, I'm having massive deja vu because I feel like, I should go back and check, but I feel like I did a very similar video about this time last year talking about my planner shifting from what I originally thought I was going to do to where I am now. And I think for me, the big thing that I need to remember for myself, and if it's any helpful for anybody else to keep in mind, is that it's okay for this to shift and change because it needs to reflect my life. And my life shifts and changes. You know, some things are more important at different times than others, and my planner really reflects that. And I think it's wonderful. Sometimes it looks like a hot mess, but like if you've been in my member space, you know that is actually just me. I'm just a hot mess a lot of the time. I share a lot of that there. But for the most part, I love that it reflects my real life. And it does help me get things done. I really like having the weekly pages. This has been really helpful to just have like where I can sit down and like I said, plan in those sort of morning, noon, and evening chunks to figure out what I'm going to do for the day. It also gives me the flexibility to change my mind because maybe I make a bunch of videos and then I am too burnt out to do any sort of other video making in the afternoon or something. So I need to switch gears and maybe do some editing or other things. So it's really helpful to do it in those chunks like that. I do really like having the daily pages where I have the space to do my tarot readings, but also like some journaling and some just basic reflection on things. I was noticing that I would do these little impromptu readings like I have here, and I wasn't putting them anywhere before in the last few months because like I didn't have space with the planning that I was doing to really, you know, include the pictures and to include especially if I was like dice casting and I had like a bunch of things. I got cards, I got dice, I've got like I want to note the keywords, I want to note the cards, I want to know what the dice mean. So I've got all of that I want to note, and I just wasn't doing that a lot with these more impromptu readings, and so they just weren't getting recorded anywhere. And while I don't necessarily need to go back and check this is a very simple one. I've got quite a few cards on the table, but like my reflections are very simple because I kind of just drilled it down into its base message. But I like remembering that I did that, because if I don't put it in here, I will forget that I even did that reading. And I was noticing that was the thing. And this is talking, I guess, more about tarot than planning at this point. But everything in my life sort of blends together. So gaming and tarot and planning and like they all just kind of blend together. And so it's kind of hard for me to like really separate them out and talk about just this one thing. Because as you can see, like it bleeds over. But I really missed having this. And since I don't have a quote unquote tarot journal for this year, I have this. And I have my fellowship journal, which is for the guided tarot practice that I do here in the membership space on my channel. And I was really missing just being able to record like on the fly readings like this, because I want to remember that I did this and I want to be able to go back and look at it. And if it's not in a tarot journal and it's not in here, then it's like it just disappears. I mean, I have it in my phone like saved as a picture, but like I won't really remember context around it, right, from just a picture. So I'm really enjoying this setup. I'm also like really enjoying trying to like let it just be what it is, right? And, you know, back to this, embracing the imperfection, because this does not have to be perfect. My life is not perfect, and I need for this to be functional and reflect that. But like, as y'all know, and as I've mentioned many times before, I'm not above saying I like the pretty. I like things to be aesthetically pleasing. So I do also want my planner to be aesthetically pleasing. And I enjoy doing the stickers and the doodles and whatnot. So having a space to just do that on any given day is also fantastic. So that's a look at my daily planner, my weekly daily planner in my Hobonichi Cousins, kind of how it's evolved over the last few months and what I'm currently doing in it. I would love to know if you are a planner, what you are using, what your system looks like. Definitely feel free to share with me in the comments below. As always, you'll find links for everything I can link to in the description box of this video. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I look forward to sharing with you again soon.